I thought I'd marry you, even though you're plain, because I believed you were a rich heiress. But a woman making $12 an hour? I don't need that. A dumb wife can just get out of the house. I'm sick of being mothered by a woman like you. Don't need a low-income old lady. Please, just leave. They smirked at me as they said such things. As if they wouldn't take no for an answer, my belongings were already packed in cardboard boxes and trash bags, placed beside them. I had a lot to say, but my heart was too shredded to muster the energy to argue. So, you want me to divorce you and leave this house, right? That's the idea. I did like how you always got it. Once she's gone, Dad can finally be happy. Got it. But you'll definitely regret this. I wasn't so naive to stay silent after being treated this way. They will surely regret having me leave this house. My name is Sally Irish. I'm a 50-year-old office worker. While working at my father's company, I've been juggling raising my daughter Julie and household chores for over a decade. I married Harry about 10 years ago. Our meeting was through work. Harry was a sales rep for a client, and I always thought he was easy to talk to. He wasn't my type looks-wise, but being someone who doesn't make friends easily, I was secretly attracted to Harry, who was always bright and smiling. Then, Harry confessed to me, and we started dating. At first, I was frightened, thinking there's no way I could match up with him, but he said, "Your shy personality and homemaking skills are wonderful." Our relationship was smooth and enjoyable. But then, one day, Harry dropped a bombshell. Actually, I have a daughter who's turning 10. This confession came half a year into our relationship, right when Harry proposed. What? The news of Harry having a child was completely unexpected. I knew he was divorced before we got together, but I had no idea he had a child. While I was overjoyed at the proposal, I was honestly more bewildered. But Harry, who would take me to delicious restaurants and places with beautiful night views. He would speak positive words to a negative me. I thought life with him would surely be fun. Feeling this way, I also wanted to marry him. Stay away from a divorced man with kids. It's bound to make you suffer. My strict father was vehemently against it. Still, Harry promised, "I will definitely make you happy." Believing I could overcome any difficulty with Harry, we married despite my parents' objections. But I wish I could tell my past self to listen to my parents. Otherwise, you're gonna see hell. I was worried about whether I could get along with Harry's child, Julie, and whether I, who had never raised a child, could truly become a good mother. The first day I met Julie. "Nice to meet you, I'm Sally." "Nice to meet you. I'm Julie." "Come in, quick," she said with a smile, eagerly pulling my arm and leading me into the living room. "Are you a CEO's daughter and a career woman? That's so cool and impressive." Her pure eyes sparkled. And I was touched by her innocence. That day, I cooked a meal with extra effort, preparing lots of dishes that kids would love. Julie stuffed her mouth with food and repeatedly said, "This is delicious." I remember being very happy. "Sally's cooking is so good. It's totally different from Dad's. To be able to eat this kind of food every day is the best," she said, seemingly accepting her father's remarriage surprisingly easily. "What do you mean, Julie? The food Dad makes is delicious too, right?" It's always the same dishes, and the taste is bland. Sally's cooking is much better." "Dad's gonna cry now," we joked around, playing together. I felt they were a close-knit family. Let's talk about our family finances. My husband was an ordinary employee at a small to medium-sized company. On the other hand, while being a CEO's daughter, I have worked long years at my father's company, holding a position and earning a decent salary. Therefore, our household primarily relied on my income. The agreement was that my husband would actively participate in household chores and childcare, which has never caused any dissatisfaction. Our family's motto is that the one who can earn more should do so. Thus, for Harry and Julie, I started by replacing my single-person furniture and appliances with family-sized ones to create a more comfortable living environment for Julie. The same goes for where we lived. Before getting married, I lived in an apartment owned by my father's company. It was too big for just me, so it was decided that Harry and Julie would move into my apartment, and the three of us started our new life together. The first time Julie came to my apartment, she ran around the house excitedly, exclaiming, "It's so big. Amazing. Watching her, I vowed to do my best in parenting and work so she could grow up to be a fine adult. Living with the three of us was stress-free, peaceful, and fun. Blood relation didn't matter, the three of us were a real family, looking forward to our lives together. However, reality wasn't so sweet. When Julie entered middle school, her attitude towards me changed. She joined the badminton team at school. It was a club passionate about practice, so between school during the day and club activities from evening to night, she was hardly home. On days off from club activities, she'd come home from school, throw her bag on the couch, and just play with her smartphone. This is when the distance between Julie and me started to widen. Even when I tried to talk to her, she wouldn't even nod, much less look at me. When I talked to Harry about Julie's attitude, he said, "She's just in her rebellious phase because she's in middle school. Don't worry about it." I thought it would settle down after a while. But no matter how long I waited, there was no sign of her attitude changing. I kept trying to engage Julie, but her responses were lukewarm, and sometimes she would sigh deeply and say, "What? Don't talk to me," outright rejecting me. Even when watching TV together in the living room, Julie would only talk to Harry. If I said something, she acted as if she hadn't heard. Yet, when she needed something, like, "Hey, I need this for club activities tomorrow. Can you wash it?" she would talk to me. Other than that, I was like air to her. Still, I tried to fulfill Julie's requests so as not to widen the distance between us further. But, I also have a job, and my company doesn't guarantee weekends off, it's shift work, so I'm often busy on my days off. Sometimes, I have to do telework at home on weekends, my job is that demanding. I don't hate my job, and I'm grateful to have it, but the busier work gets, the more inevitably there are times I can't meet Julie's demands. When I come home and start cooking dinner, if she says, "I want the cake sold near the station," or "I don't like this side dish, make hamburgers instead," I often have no choice but to refuse. Each time I refuse, Julie would visibly get upset and snap, "TSK. Useless. A mother should at least do that much," before storming off to her room. Lately, it's become her catchphrase to say, "A mother would do this, right?" I'll say it again, though legally I'm Julie's mother, she and I are not related by blood. I've always tried my best to be recognized by Julie as a mother, but I still feel like she hasn't accepted me as one. Every time she says those words to me, I blame myself for not being able to meet her needs and fall into self-loathing. It's the same with my husband, Harry. When we first met, Harry was all over me, showing his charming smile a lot. But it seems like he's the type who doesn't feed the fish once he's caught it, because about a year after we got married, his attitude towards me became indifferent. There's no atmosphere of a loving couple, just roommates. So, I try to catch a bit of his attention by suggesting, "How about we go on a date, just the two of us, for old time's sake?" But I get rejected with, "Huh? Date? We have a daughter named Julie, don't talk about something as creepy as dating." What would Julie say? I want to retort that he had a child when we met and we still went on dates, but saying that would just make him angry again. The biggest issue was Harry and Julie's extravagant spending. Working at my father's company and holding a managerial position, my salary is pretty good. Yet, because of Harry and Julie's spending, we hardly have any savings left. I've warned them about this countless times, but they never seem to try to improve. Instead, they start saying things like, "You're really stingy," or "She's such a terrible woman." Despite not being able to say I'm happily married, having gotten married for the first time after turning 40, I've come to accept that maybe this is what marriage is like. Time flies, and before I know it, I'm 50. Julie turns 20 today and is celebrating her birthday. It should be a joyous occasion, my dear daughter is turning 20. However, I can't feel genuinely happy. Memories of the first time I met her and vowed to do my best in raising her so she could become a respectable adult come flooding back. I took the day off for her coming-of-age ceremony, prepared the kimono she requested, and made reservations for dressing and a hair salon. I'm all set for the day, doing the early morning drop-off and pick-up for her. After the dressing and hair set, seeing Julie's glamorous look, I naturally smile. "You really look beautiful. You've become such a lovely woman." Harry also exclaims, "Wow. Doesn't Julie look great? That's my daughter for you. The most beautiful one here." Julie only smiles and says, "Thank you, Dad," to Harry, completely ignoring my comment. Harry is getting ready in a suit to go to the coming-of-age ceremony venue. I'm also dressed nicer than usual, planning to head to the ceremony with Julie and Harry. However, why is the old lady trying to come too? You absolutely must not come to the coming-of-age ceremony, she flatly stated. My daughter, calling me old lady and hurling abuse. But, since my daughter is dressed up so beautifully, I wanted to go to the party together. Despite being verbally abused, I tried to maintain a smile and convey this, but it seemed to have the opposite effect. Be quiet, fake mom. Don't call me your daughter. Just make sure you don't come, okay? I don't want my friends to think my mom is such a plain woman. She shooed me away with her hands. Really, is this the behavior of a respectable adult? Fake mom, huh? Did I go wrong somewhere in raising her? I sighed deeply. And so, in the end, Harry and Julie left without me. I had no choice but to spend my time leisurely at home. But, suddenly finding myself with free time, I decided to go to work. It made me realize just how much of a workaholic I am. After finishing work moderately and returning home, I found Harry sitting on the sofa with his brows furrowed and arms crossed, radiating a serious vibe. Feeling the unusual atmosphere, I became uneasy. What's wrong? Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? Your dad's company is on the brink of bankruptcy. I heard they're significantly downsizing their operations in domestic market. Harry seemed uninformed about the specifics since his company no longer had dealings with my father's company, but he must have caught wind of the rumor somewhere. Bankruptcy crisis? That might be a bit of an exaggeration. But I do know they are downsizing their operations. I wanted to discuss this with you after the birthday party. Wanted to discuss isn't good enough. What about the salary? What's going to happen? Harry seemed more concerned about my salary than the company itself. The salary might decrease a bit until things settle down? You're joking. What about Julie's college tuition? How are we going to manage that? Don't worry, I have the tuition covered. Besides, I tried to explain the situation with my father's company and why my salary might decrease, but Harry wasn't interested in listening. Enough. Can't earn money, can't get along with your daughter. You're really a failure as a mother. Harry's words, a failure as a mother, pierced my heart. He was right, my salary was decreasing, and I couldn't even pretend to have a good relationship with my daughter. But being so bluntly denied my existence caught me off guard. I need to rethink our future together, he said, then with a loud bang, intentionally making noise, he left the house. I feel the same about wanting to rethink my future with Harry. I had planned to talk things over with him after Julie's party. Why does everything have to go wrong? The next day, work was busier than usual, so I decided to stay late before heading home. Harry used to say, the one who earns more should work, and whoever gets home early should cook, but that promise was broken long ago. Expecting no dinner at home, I decided to just buy something from the store. When I arrived home, I found Harry and Julie smirking. Usually, when I come home, they're either watching TV or holed up in their rooms, so their behavior was clearly odd. It was as if they were waiting for me to return. But not in a welcoming way. I had a bad feeling about this. My bad feelings always seem to come true. And today was no exception. Finally home, You took your time. Really, so late. We were getting tired of waiting. Well, I've been a bit busier with new work recently. But, what's up with you two? Here, take this. He tossed a large package my way. Open it up. When I opened the bag, of course, it wasn't filled with presents. Inside were my clothes and cosmetics, heavy. What's all this? I couldn't understand, my thoughts couldn't keep up. Then, Julie said, come this way, guiding me to a room at the back of the living room. Opening the door, I saw all my belongings packed into many cardboard boxes and trash bags. Mom, you have too much stuff. It was such a hassle to pack it all. I took the day off work to help pack it up. I'm really tired. Good job, Dad, they laughed together, and I finally understood their intention. You want me to leave? That's right. Julie and I have been talking about it for a while. Yeah. Your dad's company is really in trouble, Your salary's been cut, hasn't it? No use hiding it. I heard everything from Dad. No, that's... Really, your role in this house is over. That's right. Your job here is completely done. We don't need someone who can't earn money. Without giving me a chance to speak, it seems like my daughter and husband are intent on blaming me, 2 against 1. With them talking non-stop like a machine gun, I couldn't find a moment to interject and could only listen in silence, looking down. As I remained silent, they seemed to forget I was there, letting their true feelings spill out one after another. Just because you were a CEO's daughter, I married you, thinking it was a good deal, but it turned out to be a complete dud. Right? I thought living in a fancy apartment and becoming a rich kid by accepting such a gloomy-faced mom would be worth it, but then I get scolded for spending too much. And with this look? I'm too embarrassed to tell my friends you're my mom. What are you both talking about? I managed to interject with a faint voice. But this only seemed to fuel their fire. Now that I can say it, I married you for the childcare help and the money. What? I doubted my own ears. My ex-wife couldn't handle childcare at all. She became a full-time homemaker but couldn't earn money, and right after having a kid, she got what? Postpartum depression? That's why my first marriage failed. I took Julie because she mattered to me, but I thought it was impossible for me, a mere employee at a small to medium-sized company, to raise a daughter on my own. So, I was looking for someone plain, who seemed wealthy enough and wouldn't betray me. And there you were, fitting the bill perfectly. No, this can't be true. I went against my parents' wishes to marry you. Man, you're so naive. Just saying I like you made you blush. You were easy to win over, even though I did you the favor of marrying you. That's awful. Who's the awful one here? A company going under is just great, isn't it? I've seen your recent pay stubs. You're making about $12 an hour. Absolutely the worst. Now that Julie has grown into a respectable adult, we don't need a low-brain wife who earns $12 an hour in the house. $12 an hour for my salary? What are they even talking about? I couldn't make sense of it at all. As I was silent and pondering, my daughter followed up with, I'm sick of having a mother like you. We don't need a low-income old lady. Please, just leave. Their heartless words shattered my heart. So, they've been thinking this all along. I hadn't realized anything until now. I had so much I wanted to say, but I no longer had the energy. You want me to divorce you and leave this house, right? That's right. I didn't hate how understanding you are. Poor Dad, being hurt and deceived by this woman. Now Dad can finally be happy. Why does my daughter hate me so much? I don't remember doing anything to either my husband or daughter to warrant such hate. Yet, my daughter seems to despise me greatly, glaring at me with a look that could kill. Seeing her like this, my husband just smirks with satisfaction. I felt anger bubbling up inside me at such a husband. I thought to myself that I'm not so kind as to stay silent after being treated this way. Surely, both of them will regret having me leave this house. I immediately began preparing to move out. Oh. So you've decided to leave for real? Finally realized you're just dead weight in this house, huh? It's been a long time coming, my husband said while he began to carry my belongings to the entrance, one after another. Seeing him do this, my daughter oddly sympathized with him. Dad's really too kind for helping out with the luggage. Any belongings you can't take today will be sent to you later. But remember, if you don't clear out your stuff from our house within a week, everything will be disposed of, just so you know. Suddenly telling me to leave and setting a deadline for moving out, and to top it off, threatening to dispose of anything left? How unreasonable can he be? I understand. And just one last thing, you will regret this. Be prepared. I said this to my husband with the loudest voice I've ever used towards him. Regret? As if, he laughed, but I ignored his words and left the house. That day, I decided to stay in a company-owned apartment. I'll live here until I find a new place. Though I could have had my belongings sent over, I didn't want my ex-husband and daughter to know my new address, so I waited for a moment they were out and hired movers to bring my things in. Since we were both working, it was decided that we would split our savings in half. My husband has a habit of spending recklessly, so he's incapable of saving. Inevitably, a lot of the money I had saved ended up in his hands, but these were the rules, and I had no choice but to follow them. In the end, I handed over a sum of $200,000. Well, I hope he uses that money for our daughter's college expenses. That was the plan, anyway. And so, our divorce was finalized. Though my heart was torn to shreds up until the divorce, surprisingly, I felt happier and more at ease afterward. My mind felt surprisingly clear. It just goes to show how twisted my married life had been. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, my ex-husband called. Honestly, I hesitated to answer, but guessing it was about his current predicament, I decided to listen out of sheer curiosity. "Hey, what's the meaning of this?" exclaimed my ex-husband, clearly in a panic from the get-go. "What do you mean?" "Well, I pretty much know what this is about, but I decide to ask anyway." "I was told to leave the house starting tomorrow." "Why?" "It's our apartment, isn't it?" "Of course, you have to leave. It's an apartment owned by my company. It's obvious that ex-strangers like my ex-husband and his daughter can't live there. Anyone would understand that with a little thought." "Yeah, but I don't have anywhere else to go on such short notice. Can you ask your dad to let me and Julie stay here like before?" "What are you talking about? 2 months ago, you and Julie suddenly kicked me out, and I had nowhere to go either. Who was heartless back then?" "About that time. Sorry. I apologize. So, can you help us out?" "There's nothing I can do." "Is that all?" I'm hanging up. As if a cheap apology could make me forgive what happened that day. Even after the divorce, this man still underestimates me completely. As I try to hang up, my ex-husband pleads, wait. Hold on. What? Is there something else? I don't get it." Recently, it was decided that a really tall apartment building will be constructed near our house. It has a great location, and the brochure showed that the facilities and space are amazing. When I looked into it, I found out it's owned by your company. What's going on? I thought your company was on the brink of bankruptcy. There's no way you have the budget to build such an amazing apartment. That. My company started a new business 2 years ago. It's been doing really well, and there was never a bankruptcy crisis. Now, it has grown into a corporation with an annual revenue of $600 million. So, buying that apartment was easy." "What? That can't be. I thought the company you had was gone. And your salary was cut." "The company hasn't disappeared. It's smaller but still exists. We're expanding our business overseas because it's more profitable. The salary cut was only during the transition period. Our company uses an incentive system. My father made adjustments so other employees wouldn't get pay cuts. But since I'm family, I told them it was okay to cut my salary temporarily. My base salary was sufficient, and there was a big project planned for me. Why didn't you explain this important matter to me?" "I tried to. But you never gave me a chance to explain. Besides, everyone knows my father's company is growing rapidly. A little research would have shown you. You're the one who jumped to conclusions." "That's true, but..." "Also, when I said there was a big project planned for me, it meant I was going to become the president of my father's company." "President? You?" My ex-husband was so shocked that he raised his voice. That loud voice was too much, so I pulled the phone away from my ear and frowned. "So noisy." "Yes, that's right. However, becoming president means I'll have to live overseas for a while since the focus has shifted now, and it's inconvenient to continue here. But I couldn't decide so easily because you and Julie were here. I was planning to discuss it with you too after Julie's birthday party." My ex-husband seemed to have lost his voice, unable to respond anymore. He seemed stunned. "Hello? Are you listening? By the way, since you guys abandoned me, I happily accepted the offer to become the president. The moving date has set, and soon I'll be the president of a company with an annual revenue of $600 million. "That's insane. I can't believe it. I mean, during the property division, it was only $200,000. Sure, that's a large amount, but nowhere near $600 million. Ordinary people don't have that kind of wealth." Indeed, that's the case in Japan. Companies exceeding $600 million in annual revenue are just a tiny fraction. But the scale changes when it's worldwide. It's because we could expand our business globally that we've been able to grow so much. All my savings were managed under my father's name. You and Julie were so reckless with money, we hardly saved anything. So, I thought it'd be best to entrust most of my salary to my dad. He can successfully manage new ventures and investments, so I felt secure. But I saw a salary statement for $12 an hour. What was that about? Ah. You mentioned that. I thought about it afterward. What could that have been? Then it hit me. You probably saw the salary statement of someone who worked part-time as a cleaner. That's from years ago. The company has been discussing how the wages for part-time workers are too low. So, I was reviewing past wages, everything. What you saw was probably an old salary statement. Nowadays, the minimum wage exceeds $20 an hour everywhere, which you would realize with a bit of thought. I couldn't stop laughing at the absurdity. If he had looked at the statement properly, he would have noticed the different name and date. My ex-husband must have been desperate to find a weakness in me, and stumbled upon that salary statement by chance. Even a fool would notice the discrepancy. I've been misunderstanding this whole time? I let a woman worth $600 million slip away. Well, that's about the size of it. I'm going to hang up now. And say hello to Julie for me. And with that, I hung up on my ex-husband. Afterward, he sent me messages begging me to reconsider and called me incessantly, but I ignored all of it. He was so persistent that I blocked him yesterday. 3 months have passed since then. I now live overseas. Work has been incredibly busy, and I haven't taken any time off, but I'm grateful for the increase in work. With no more personal troubles, I've been able to focus on my job without stress, so no matter how busy, it doesn't feel like a burden. Julie has called me a few times since then. Mom, I'm really sorry. Since I became a middle schooler, Dad started bad-mouthing you, saying you were cheating and mocking me. I believed all of it and blamed you for everything. I'm sorry for all the terrible things I said. Julie sounded genuinely remorseful, and I'd considered forgiving her, but her attitude towards me had been too terrible, influenced by her father or not. I'd like to say it's okay because your father told you those things, but you're also to blame. Why won't you forgive me even though I'm apologizing so much? You're my mother, right? You're rich, aren't you? Please. I got used to living with you, so I can't lower my standard of living now. Do something. I'll go anywhere, even overseas. My daughter's point is that when I was around, we had a reasonably affluent life, and she lived without wanting for anything. However, since I left the house and they were evicted from the apartment, they now live in a cheap, cramped rental, just the two of them, and apparently, that lifestyle is unbearable for her. But her words, "You're my mother, right," are the same ones that used to hurt my ears. I realized that her apology is temporary, and she doesn't think she did anything wrong. At this point, I can't support Julie anymore. If this had been a sincere apology, I would have forgiven her without hesitation. That's what parents are like. In the end, you want to spoil your child. But it was different. Surely, after all the ridicule she had thrown my way over the years, she couldn't sincerely turn around and be nice to me now. She had always been a proud child since she was young. So, I decided to stop being her mother. You said, "I am your mother," right? But you also told me not to act like your mother. So, I've stopped. I'm sorry, but you're an adult now. You need to live on your own. Good luck. Wait, are you kidding? Are you abandoning your daughter? If things stay like this, I won't be able to go to college, and my first paycheck will all go to rent? You were the one who abandoned me first, remember? Besides, I gave your father $200,000. You shouldn't have to live so hand-to-mouth, at least for a while. That money. Dad bought a car, and I bought a designer bag, so there's hardly any left. Julie awkwardly admitted this. In the end, both my ex-husband and daughter had lived freely off my salary and couldn't stop their lavish spending suddenly. But that's none of my concern. I don't care about that. I've made my decision. Sort it out yourself. Goodbye. With that, I hung up the phone. Still, I have no intention of blocking my daughter. Regardless of everything, she is the child I've spent over a decade with. If she truly finds herself in trouble and sincerely apologizes, swallowing her pride, then maybe I'll consider extending a helping hand. But that seems like a distant possibility. Life outside of the States is busy and not easy, but now, I am happy. Maybe someday I'll plan a trip back home with the employees living here. Thinking about such things, I spend my days peacefully alone.